Alrighty. What kind of username is that? Oh, it's gone now. I can't see it anymore. That's funny. All right. Sorry, everybody. I was distracted by Discord. Um, I gotta get the multi-guest thing up. Boom, there we go. Happy Father's Day to everybody. Well, not everybody. Moon shoes. It'll grow back. God, stop. Leave me alone. Oh, June 15th. What are some. Let's look up some historical events that took place on June 15th. Unfortunately, Wikipedia, they add every single stupid little thing. Arkansas became a state in 1836. Anybody from Arkansas, congratulations. Oh, what else? Margaret Jones is hanged in Boston for witchcraft back in 1648. That's pretty fun. What else happened on this day? The Boy Scouts of America were created by Woodrow Wilson in 1916. I was in Boy Scouts for like a year. Great Smoky Mountain National Park is founded. Never been, probably never will, but there we go. Charles Manson went on trial for the Sharon Tate murders in 1970. I live like not very far from the prison he was held at for most of his. I think he's still alive, isn't he? I actually know people that worked there while he was being held there. Never heard any stories though, but I've also never asked. And Microsoft or Internet Explorer was officially killed in 2022 on this day. Gravir sends his love. Nice. Aram apparently doesn't care, but you know, Gravir, I'll take Gravir's a real one. Aram, not so much. Uh Maybe we should have a picnic this summer and we can just joke about everything that's happened over the last 2 years and reminisce. That would be fun. There's some good food over there. I'd be happy to go over there to get something to eat. Anybody born on this day that anybody cares about? George Washington was appointed commander of the army on this day. Wikipedia doesn't show that for whatever reason. All right, anybody born on this day that I've ever heard of? So far, no. Damn. Oh, Harry Nilsson. Okay. He wrote what's that song called? Everybody's Talking at Me. I don't know if that's the name of the song, but I love that song. Sam, that's funny. Oh man, who else? Who was born on this day? Wade Boggs. Okay, I don't care. I've heard of Wade Boggs, but I don't care. Courtney Cox. Okay, happy birthday, Courtney Cox. Man, have you guys seen that commercial with her and whoever the girl that played Phoebe was? Phoebe is clearly just letting herself age normally, and Courtney Cox is not. Have I ever heard of Coulter Wall? No, I've never heard of Coulter Wall. Sorry. Neil Patrick Harris's birthday. Okay. Cooper Kupp's birthday. He's 2 years younger than me. Wow, what a boring day. What a very, very boring day. What do I think about the Trump parade that happened? I think it was a pretty pathetic spectacle. Like, I don't know. It's actually kind of nice that they actually did it, because there's all this rhetoric about, look, we don't do that kind of thing, and it's quasi-fascist, whatever, or like authoritarian, not really necessarily fascist or whatever. But unless it happens, then it's just rhetoric. But the fact that it happened and it was such a pathetic flop, and they were doing crypto at the U.S. Army parade is sponsored by Coinbase.net or whatever the fuck it was. Like, the fact that it happened and it was such a pathetic, horrendous joke and an embarrassment is nice, because now we can be like, yeah, so we're not doing shit like that anymore. Okay, right? like everybody can agree. The way that the people in uniform weren't even marching in step was just so, it's like they didn't even care. Everyone was out getting tacos. Yeah, something like that. Lion King did it better. Lion King parade? How do astronauts avoid radiation poisoning? Well, they don't spend very much time in the Van Allen belts, and it doesn't take a lot to block those cosmic rays or fast-moving particles or whatever. So that would be how. During the Be Prepared scene, apparently I need to watch The Lion King. I haven't watched The Lion King since a year that started with the number 1. I'm almost certain. Who is Darth Dawkins? You don't want to know. Can you share any further insights into Spanky and why he's real? Literally, all you have to do is open your heart and bosom and speak, and Spanky will reveal his divine self to you. if it hasn't happened yet, it's because you're unrighteous. And so um, I should actually probably block you for just the fact that you don't know, Spanky, tells me that you're not a righteous person. So am I taking guests? Yeah, the guest box should be open. I'm sitting here looking at it. It's just been empty the whole time. For beard care products. Thank you, Caffeinated Viking. I have some, but what I don't have is maybe I could get that little stupid spiky roller that supposedly makes stuff grow back better, thicker, or whatever. I can't believe that any of that crap could possibly work, but praise Doug. Doug is the rock that Spanky builds his church upon. Like literally everybody knows this. I say to you, you are Doug, and upon this rock I shall build my church. We have in Spankalations, there is a holy city. It's called Taco Salem, but I don't know if there's like a Spanky hell or anything like that. I'd have to check the official Spanky canon. And yes, there is an official Spanky canon. I don't really keep up with it. I'll have to ask the chief prophet. Do I still have the Spanky Bible? Yeah, it's behind me. Does any Doug or Spanky merch exist? I can't speak on behalf of Doug. I used to sell Spankies. TikTok, you can't see him, but he's behind me right over here. I shut down my merch store a couple weeks ago. It'll go back open maybe one of these days. Anyways, hello, Joy. What's up?
Hello, I'm a fan. I just had a question and see if you had an answer.
Yeah,
Are you familiar? Because I've been starting to talk to these flat earthers. They're pretty insufferable. But have you been shown like this weird flat earth map they have? When you're asking them about the stars and how they spin, they'll show you like these personal domes.
I've kind of heard of it before. I've seen it before. They have this. I don't know if it's an app or whatever program they have, but yeah, the personal dome. So, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just literally taking stars and getting the light from them to bend at 90-degree angles specific to every observer. So just ask them how that works, and they will have absolutely no answer. They're just saying this shows that it's possible. But you have to demonstrate that light bending like that is possible in the first place.
Okay. The answer I gave him was because these latitude lines on their map, it's just, there is no real direction. So, in theory, I guess if you're looking in a separate way, they could be going in different ways on their map. But that's like the only thing, and that makes even less sense. So, I don't know.
Yeah, nothing about it makes any sense.
Yeah. No, I've started talking to them. They're absolutely insufferable. If you come across a guy named Enoch of TikTok, just be ready. That dude is unreal. But yes, that was pretty much all I had to say. Hopefully you get somebody in here that's a flat earther. But
yeah, me too.
Yep.
Or any kind of idiot. You know, I'm not picky.
Alrighty, well, appreciate it. I'll be in here lurking.
Lurking. All right, sounds good. Dapper Sloth wants to know if I'm reading any good books right now. I'm currently reading Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, and I like it so far. I mean, it's just kind of heartbreaking. It's basically a tale of every major broken promise, from what I understand. How many pages am I in? I'm 65 pages into it. So far, it's discussed the largest mass execution in United States history, which happened in New Ulm, Minnesota during the Revolutionary War. That was chapter 3. Chapter before that was about the Navajos and how they were just basically kicked off of their land and given a kind of basically a miserable plot of land for the reservation where you can't even drink the water because it's so alkaline. But then they did gain back some territory because despite the horrors that have been committed, there have always been people that are sympathetic. So a little bit of good has been done. Then I don't remember what the heck. Chapter 1 was just kind of an introduction to the whole thing, right? Yeah. So, I'm also, what else am I reading? I started reading Biggest Ideas in the Universe by Sean Carroll, and I think I'll just quit. Honestly, I can't. It's just I can't with that book. It's nothing in it makes sense for me. I don't know. I'll probably read it just for the sake of reading it, but I gave up on the idea that the book will be able to teach me how to do any of the math or anything. I thought I was reading. Aren't I reading a third book? Let me open up Audible. I don't have it on my desk. No, yeah, I just finished 2 books and then I started these ones. I've been listening to the New Testament a little bit here and there. You know what, Eric? You look good both with and without a beard. You're one of those lucky motherfuckers. I don't know if that's true. I need to work on my jawline. I need to start mewing. Because this looks better than this,
Quick question, bro. Can you tell me where water comes from?
What water comes from? Or where water
Yeah,
comes from?
no, what it comes from, or if I that you can where it comes from too, sure.
Earth.
Right.
I don't know
It
what you
comes
mean.
from Earth. Like, where does water come? What started the water? Like for Earth is mainly water, right?
No.
It's not mainly water. It's not like when you look out into the universe, you don't see mainly water on the planet. You don't see that. You see mostly green, like grass and
No,
stuff.
like surface area wise, most of our surface is water. But if you took all the water off of Earth and made it into a separate ball and then had the Earth next to it, the Earth ball would be about equivalent to like a ping pong ball next to I'd say a volleyball.
Okay, but you see more of water than the land, right? When you look
Yeah, on the
outside of
surface, but it's not. But Earth is not mostly. It's like if you had something that was gold plated, all you can see is gold on the surface, but the thing is mostly not gold. Same problem.
Okay, so what percentage of the Earth is water? Yeah,
I don't know.
and where?
Less than 1%, but I don't know off the top of my head. 70% of the surface is covered in water, but again, that's like saying a gold-plated necklace is 100% covered with gold, but in reality, it's less than 1% gold.
Okay, right. So, but where does the water come from for it to? I just want to answer from that. Where did the water come from? Did it come from the Big Bang?
Well, no, not really,
Is that
because there wouldn't have been any oxygen created then. We actually don't really know what the source of Earth's water is, because hydrogen and oxygen are pretty common in the universe. But it doesn't seem that when Earth just formed in space, that there were water molecules that eventually boiled up to the surface because Earth was really hot and then settled there. I don't know the specifics of why they're not convinced by that, but it has to do something with the chemistry and the isotopic composition of the Earth's water compared to the water we find in space.
So, do you ever? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. My bad. Keep going. I'm sorry.
Yes, this last one will be real quick. Some minerals have water in their crystal structure, but it's not like a coconut. You can't like break it open and there's water in there. But when these minerals get really hot, the water, we say, decomposes. Like if you've ever burned food, like in the toaster or something, you see water on it, above it or inside of it. That's because there's hydrogen and oxygen inside of food. And when you get it hot enough, the hydrogen and oxygen escape and form water as they do that. So minerals in the earth can do the same thing. So maybe that's how
said in
Earth
the
got all of its
toaster?
water, but we're also not totally sure. Go ahead.
You said in the toaster, like for bread, for instance.
Yeah, like cook your bread too long in the toaster, and
I've
if you look along the rim, there will be water there.
the rim of the what of the bread or the toaster?
The toaster. It might be so hot that it would boil the water, but if you
I was
have
about
like
to say I've never gotten burnt toast and it came out wet. I was about to say I don't know what type.
no, the toast doesn't.
Okay, I thought,
The water
okay,
escapes from
okay,
it.
okay. I see what you're saying. Okay. Another question. Is Earth the only planet with water?
No, Mars has some left, not a ton. I mean, like enough to build a civilization, but compared to Earth, not really that much. There are several moons in our solar system that have more water than the whole planet Earth does.
Right. So, but no one knows where it comes from.
We don't know exactly how it forms. If, like, obviously the iron Earth has, there just is iron out there in space. Meteorites have iron. And if you get an absurd number of meteorites to all crash together and form a planet, there's your iron.
But something would have to cause that, right?
Cause the iron to form?
Sure, that too.
Oh, well, yeah, that's done by stars. We know that. We know where the elements that make up water come from. We just don't know if the water starts off as water inside meteorites, because you do find water in them, and then that just enough of it piles together that you get an Earth with this much water on it, or if the water comes chemically decomposes from minerals or something else. We're just not sure.
So how are you sure it came from a Big Bang?
Well, I would say the Big Bang is just something that the universe did. So the Big Bang isn't something outside the universe. It's not really something inside the universe either. It just is what the universe does, right? It's like where did the Earth get its spin? Well, the Earth just does spin. I mean, we do kind of understand how it happens, but it's not like something outside of Earth caused Earth's spin or anything like that. It's just an intrinsic property that Earth has. But we do know, like the Big Bang, we have as much confidence about the Big Bang as we do that the Earth orbits the sun.
Right. But usually, if a Big Bang were to happen, something's bad happening. When have you ever heard of a bang and then life is created? We have planets and stars and water and trees and oxygen and all this, and you got humans living on this planet. So we have to have something for just a Big Bang just to come out of nowhere and just have everything aligned perfectly. We're all in orbit, spinning at 666 miles an hour into space, so like I just need to know where water came from. That's all I want to know. And if nobody knows where water came from, then you can't tell me that it came from the Big Bang. Because I need to know where water. How?
Let me ask you like a slightly different question. Where did zebras come from?
Where did zebras come from?
Yep.
You're not going to like this answer. But obviously a zebra was created.
How do you know that?
They're here, right? Were you created?
Yeah, but we don't know that they came from here because nobody saw it. Nobody knows where they came from. So zebras, maybe they
Wait,
came
wait, 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 wait. So
from,
you
maybe
wait,
they
wait. No
come
one
from
saw where water
Omicron
came from.
Persei
You're
8.
no one seen wait. No one seen where water came from, and you're finna sit here
Yeah.
and tell me that it was formed like da, 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 da. So how you finna
Yeah.
sit here and use that against me?
What I'm trying to demonstrate is nobody saw the zebra
No
actually
one seen the
come.
Big Bang.
What I'm trying to say
Sorry.
is nobody actually saw the zebra come from anywhere, but the idea that zebras are from Earth is a very reasonable thing to say.
From
Instead,
Earth?
saying that they come from Omicron Persei 8 makes absolutely no sense. So to say that water formed in the universe is very reasonable because we can see elements out in the universe. We know how elements form inside of stars. We know how gravity collects objects in the universe together.
Wait. So you're so
I'm waiting.
okay. So you're saying so since no one was an eyewitness to see a zebra being made, there's just no evidence for zebras being real. Is that what you're saying? Are you trying to say that since
You're
it has to be an
nowhere
eyewitness
close.
of the you're saying that has to be an eyewitness for a zebra?
No,
You
I'm
said where the
saying
zebras
no.
come from.
I'm saying quite the
So-
opposite of that. Even though we don't have
You just
an eyewitness for it, there are still reasonable inferences we can make. That zebras came from Earth, specifically Africa, is a very reasonable inference, even though nobody saw
what made
it.
the first zebra?
Huh?
Then? Zebras come from zebras, right?
Today, yeah.
Today they came from something else.
Well, zebras evolved, so
What do you
at
mean
some point
today?
in the
What
past,
do you
a
mean
zebra's
today?
ancestors
Zebras have been
were not.
zebras. Zebras have been zebras since they were zebras. What are you talking about? There?
Yeah, that's pretty
Like,
much
you
true.
said today. You saying today? Like what?
Buddy,
Was a zebra something else?
Look, buddy.
No. Was a zebra something else before it was a zebra?
Yes and no.
I need one answer. Was a zebra something before it became a zebra? What was it before a zebra? Forget that. Forget a yes or no.
I'm not
What
sure what
was
the
a zebra
immediate
before it was-
ancestor of a zebra is off the top of my head.
So how you finna sit here and tell me, well, today zebras do it?
Okay.
Like they weren't
Zay.
always zebras.
Zay, where are your ancestors from?
Where are my ancestors from?
Yes.
In your context, Earth.
According to you, where are your ancestors from?
Like do you want a continent? You want a state? You want to what do you want?
I'm thinking going back like a few hundred years.
A few hundred years. Shoot, a few hundred years ago. Like I wasn't alive then, so I can't give you where they're from. I can't tell you that I wasn't alive.
Okay, that's fine because I don't
So
really
I
need
can't
to.
give you
I guess I don't technically need to know where they're from. But do you think that your ancestors a few hundred years ago said words like finna?
Finna is a slang word.
I know. Do you
So
think
what does that have to
your
do with-
ancestors said finna a
What
few
does that-
hundred years
What
ago?
does that have to do with a zebra being a zebra? You're saying today, zebras are zebras and they give out zebras. Like, what does that ancestor have to do with me knowing that finna? Finna is
because
about
because the
I'm
language.
finna- since I gotta explain to you, I'm finna do something. I'm about to. People, it's a. There's, you know what skibbity toilet is? Cause I damn sure don't. You know what skibbity toilet is?
I don't
What Riz,
really.
whatever the fuck that shit is? No.
I kind of
Can't
know what
nobody to
Riz
this day
is.
tell me what the fuck that shit is. But people still say it. Like what? You're
Yeah, I know.
going nowhere with this shit.
No, I'm
Like,
going
what-
somewhere. I mean, the plane hasn't landed
You're
yet.
not.
I was trying to. So
Okay, what is your
the
point?
Yeah, the point is, your ancestors, my ancestors too. If you go back enough 100 years or whatever, my direct ancestors were speaking completely different words than basically all of the words that I speak. But eventually they gave rise to me. it's not like one day. It's not like one day people woke up and started saying skibbity toilet finna and like just out of absolutely nowhere. Well, I mean, in a way,
Right.
for
Okay.
those words, that a little
Uh,
bit is how that happened. So
uh-huh.
zebras evolved gradually. It's not the case that one day
Mhm.
something that wasn't a zebra gave birth to something that is a zebra. Just like it's not the case that one day somewhere in the world somebody gave birth to somebody that started using modern American slang. It all happens extremely
No,
gradually.
no. Modern slang is learned. You have to learn the slang to use the slang. So that's different. DNA and body structure and what is given to you is always gonna stay like that, regardless of what it is.
Well, that's
No
just
crocodile can
literally
make it.
not
Wait, wait,
true.
wait. No, that,
I mean,
can a
we
crocodile make a zebra? Can a crocodile make a zebra?
no.
Yes. Why not?
Well, because they're completely different phyla. For one, are they phyla or are they no animal phyla? Class. They're different
Okay,
classes.
what's okay? Okay, let's put into
No
this.
modern
What's the
day animal
closest
could
thing?
ever produce a different modern day animal. It doesn't. It
Okay,
doesn't work like that.
what's the closest thing to a zebra right now?
An okapi.
So is that a zebra?
No, it's the closest relative of one. This is like saying two people that are
So if
cousins. Okay, they're cousins, therefore they're related, right? Okay, well,
right,
could I ever give birth to one of
so
my cousins? No, it doesn't work like that.
right, okay, right. So if that's the closest,
What happened?
sorry, I got a phone call. I'm sorry. Hold on.
All right.
Sorry. Give me 1 second. I'm going back in like 10 minutes. Are you still gonna be going live in like 10 minutes?
Oh yeah.
All right, give me like 10 minutes and hold me to that thought. I'm gonna join right back.
All right. Oh man, that was wild. Anyways, Rosa Parks did not say I ain't finna move from this seat, everybody. But gradually, the slang does evolve over time. Nui, are you there?
Yeah.
Nui Kiri?
Hello?
Yeah, hi, what's up?
That guy was so stupid. Oh my God. That was so difficult to watch. That was like,
I'm not sure if he was trolling or not, but
no, I don't think he was, man. I think he was like, it's harder to it's hard to argue with a smart person. It's impossible to argue with a stupid person.
yeah, it can be. Did you have any questions real quick? I'm guessing we probably agree on most things, but I got 4 other people in the queue.
Um, um, Not really. I mean, I like your content. I think you're a smart guy. I I can't really think of any questions to be honest. I'm sort of I'm not a I don't really have a worldview at the moment. Um I'm not necessarily a Christian. I'm not necessarily agnostic or atheist. I'm just trying to find some middle ground because I obviously um am aware of a lot of the flaws in the major religions and the holy books. But I also sort of have a profound sort of sense of awe and gratefulness for being in the universe. I don't really know where to direct that at the moment, I guess. So yeah.
Okay, well,
Um,
I can't help you with that, unfortunately. But thanks for coming up.
yeah, yeah, no problem. All right.
Later. All right. Hello?
Hello.
What's up?
Hey. I'm good. Yeah, no, I definitely have to say the Earth is not flat. I've had conversations with people, and I think it's like one of the dumbest belief things that people can believe is the Earth is flat. I just don't think that's true.
It's up there.
So what was that?
It's up there.
Yeah. And so for myself, I do believe in God, and I do believe I'll kind of explain my idea of evolution a little bit. So I believe that God created everything, but things have evolved in their respective spheres to adapt to the situations at hand because the earth is constantly changing. We have a lot of history of that. And so it's impossible for an animal to just stay the same forever and ever indefinitely without having to adapt to those situations, you know? And that's where
Yeah, I mean,
the evidence of
if the environment didn't change at all, then there wouldn't necessarily be selective pressure to change. Although
yeah,
predator prey relationships could certainly kick off an evolutionary arms race, and the environment, like the physical environment, wouldn't be changing. But yeah, that's why some things like horseshoe crabs haven't changed in their body structure very much over an extremely long time. So they
yeah,
live off the coasts, and the coasts, I mean, temperatures can fluctuate and stuff like that, but otherwise
it's
kind of
relatively the same.
stable. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other thing for me, I think for myself, I've been having this conversation with myself and some professors where I'm going to college right now. And basically the whole idea about people basically saying that we evolved from animals. Like I think for myself that I feel like it's arrogant to say the two trains of thought for it, because if we're saying, how do I put this, is we have evidence of animals being able to recognize themselves, such as like dolphins and like I
The
think
mirror test. Yeah.
most of the great apes and like different animals species have been able to recognize themselves in a mirror. But the one thing we can't prove and haven't proved yet is whether or not they even have conscious thought behind it. And the idea is that if they can recognize themselves, then therefore the idea is they can know self, but we can't ask them questions of whether or not they can like question their purpose, because I don't know any animal that's ever become not even a theologian, but more like a philosopher or things like that, like the
Yeah.
purpose of life.
Well, I mean, you
And so
technically can't prove that with any human either.
yeah, true. What is it? The philosopher was like, the only thing I can't prove is me, basically. And so it's just like,
Yeah.
for me, I think it's a very overstep in people's thought process of saying that, oh, we evolved from animals, but at the same time, no animal we have no idea if any animal has conscious thought, and we have no idea. And for us, I mean, for the majority, if you look around you, most people can think about themselves in some way, shape, or form and question the purpose of what they're doing. And so I just think that it's there would need to be some kind of way to prove that an animal can think in a way that humans think before we jump to the conclusion that we evolved from animals.
Oh, wait. So you don't believe in human evolution?
No, I do not know.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't think we evolved from apes, if that's what you're asking.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
hold on one second. I got to write something down here. Well, so when it comes to, all right, we're going to do two different things here. When it
Okay.
comes to the idea about, well, humans have a type of cognition that we don't find in the animal kingdom. So we'd have to see examples of that before we could explain humans. Couple problems that there would be with that is, I do think we see something like that in animals today. For example, chimpanzees will do this thing where they've been studied. They put them in a room, and in that room, they'll hang food from the ceiling, and then there will be boxes in that room. So if you want to get the food, you put the boxes up, right?
Yeah.
To go and get it. Now, there are some things that chimpanzees are not good at, some tasks we give them, and they try and fail. They repeat and fail them with just this mind-numbing stupidity from our perspective. But with this task, they've been observed to do that, where on the very, very first try, they stack the boxes and go and get the food. And that may seem rudimentary, but I think that's actually extraordinary because it shows purposeful, deliberate planning. It shows that they have an ability to create an abstract model of reality in their mind, and they can create a model of things that haven't even happened yet because they're goal orientated and they're not just instinctually reacting to something. They're not just going through trial and error. They very clearly saw what they wanted and understood to a degree how to get it. That's one of the only really good examples I know off the top of my head, at least for trying to demonstrate some of the cognitive abilities that they have.
Do you know how many times do you know how many times they've been able to recreate this?
I don't know that specifically.
Okay.
I know the study has been done. I don't know like deep
I
details
would-
on the study.
would
I
like
read
to
about it
go
in a
ahead-
book about
Yeah,
the
I would
evolution
like
of
to go
minds.
ahead and read that and just cross-reference and kind of like study it because there's like, for example, like I think studies are great, but there's a lot of biases in a lot of studies. Like for example, the lady who I think it was Coco, or yeah, Coco the gorilla, where she was like Coco can create complex words, but at the same time, it was like, for example, it was like I was talking to my professor about this, where it was like how she was saying that Coco could go ahead and say she knew what a bracelet was by saying it was a ring, like your finger and ring. But my professor was like, well, how do you know that Coco is not just thinking that it's just a big ring, basically? Like it's basically like, how do we know that there isn't any biases in the study?
Yeah, that would be really hard to do. Gutsick Gibbon did a video on YouTube maybe like a month or so ago where she talked extensively about language in non-human primates. There have been some recent studies in like a type of baboon, I think maybe it is, where they see they have these calls and they're pretty rudimentary, but they're seeing what looks like grammar in the calls because they do the different calls in specific sequences, and depending on which calls are used and in which order, it modifies the syntax of the other calls. So if you do like chip, bop, plat, or whatever, I don't know what sounds they make. If you do that in a specific order, this call can mean something different based on what comes before it. And like if animals are using a different language, it would be extremely difficult to figure out what it is because we don't speak that language. But I don't remember very much of the details on that. That's the only part of it. They think that they're seeing the beginnings of syntax. But the thing about the human intelligence or whatever, so with evolution, what you have to keep in mind is we didn't evolve from chimpanzees. So if chimpanzees aren't as smart as humans are, you can't say, or if they're not even close to as smart as we are, you can't say, therefore, we don't have the stepping stone between humans and whatever came before us, because they're not our ancestor. They're just our closest living relative. What would be the case is if human cognition evolved over time, and what we're currently able to do today is just a highly derived, sophisticated, modern iteration of those kinds of tasks that have built over time, then it's our extinct ancestors that are the ones that had those skills less modern than ours, but they're extinct. But what's nice about that is even though they're extinct, we can still find evidence of them. And I think that let me change this on YouTube so that they can see. I think that this is just clear, overwhelming evidence of human evolution. And we can't talk to any of these things, but we can study their anatomy, and we can see that it's not really hard at all to imagine that, well, we don't know which of these creatures was the first one to have like a language or complex thought, complex what we call theory of mind, for example. And now my live stream is getting demoted because it says that this is unoriginal content, so that's great. But so we don't know that. But if humans can do it, and we think it's because of the body to brain ratio that we have, and there's also something about the way our brain is wired, even if we had the brain to body ratio we do today, but our brain wasn't wired correctly, there may be some pretty significant things we lack. Neanderthals actually had a bigger, well, pretty much an identical brain to body ratio as we do, but they seem to have lacked, they had a different wiring that showed they probably really were a lot less intelligent than we are. Like, for example, Neanderthal tools do not change at all over time. For tens of thousands of years, they were making the exact same tools. They didn't seem to have the ability to create memes and to innovate like we do. So,
Yeah. Do you have like a study about the tools and things like that, or like research or anything like that you could pull up that I could look up and read myself?
off the top of my head, I don't know of any studies. I mean, I can tell you if you want to look up the Oldowan tool set, that's a tool set that's more than 1,000,000 years old. I think it's like 2,000,000 years old. So it was first being used by either Homo erectus or Homo habilis. Habilis means like the handyman or something like
Yeah.
that. So it may be related to that. I mean, I don't know how much time you have, but I have some pretty good books on human evolution. Uh, Ancient Bones, The World Before Us, and Before the Dawn. Those are three really, really good books on human evolution. I can't, they talk about the same topics, so they blur together in my mind. I can't remember
Yeah.
which one
That's
is
totally
like
okay.
better than the other or anything, but
Okay, I'm glad that you have like things that you're going back to, just because I've had conversations with people and it's just a lot of the time, it's like people basically are going back and just basically making stuff up, and then I ask them where they got their information from, and it's just like basically goes back to the whole idea of like rational thought and things like that, where it's just like you're thinking about it, and it's like, that's good, but I would like to be able to read something to know that what you're telling me has been seen by multiple people and isn't just something that you're just trying to like make up, basically.
yeah, I mean, evolution is a conceptual framework that gives us a way to interpret evidence and make inferences about the evidence we find. There is a lot of, like, I wouldn't call it confirmation bias, but there is a lot of, what would you call it? I don't know what you would call it, but a lot about evolution is us interpreting the evidence in light of our model. Now, evolution has made huge numbers of predictions that came true before we have the evidence. We predicted the evidence and then we, found it. But, like, for example, the like Neanderthals, we've found them with pretty sophisticated burials,
Mhm.
like with flowers and what almost looks like jewelry. And so that helps us. We make inferences toward, okay, well, like complex theory of mind, the ability to have abstract thoughts like beauty and art and whatever, is not unique to Homo sapiens. It may be much more ancient than that. Now, there have been other interpretations that say, nah, Neanderthals didn't like purposefully bury their dead in any kind of ritualistic sense. There's a huge debate and divide over that. We don't know exactly, but
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's super cool. All right, I'll definitely do some more research and look this up and read some of it, just because I'm very curious. I just need to read some more information about it. But yeah, no, I'll save this still though. I still do believe in God, and I wouldn't. There's not. How do I put this? I think I'll be the first to admit that I don't think there is any fallible way to prove the existence of God. And that's why, if you go to like, have you ever read the Bible at all?
not cover to cover.
Yes, okay. Um, so like, have like, the idea of faith?
Yeah.
I'll just make this really quick. So yeah, basically that's it talks about faith being really important, and so if you know what faith is, then you understand that in the Bible, well, not understand it, but it talks about faith being really important. And so you need to have faith in order to believe in God. And so would I say there's any fallible way to prove God's existence that I know of? No. But that's why I have faith and I do things to basically try to help my understanding of who God is and things like that in my life, you know?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely read some of these books that you're talking about. I don't know if there's anything else I would disagree with you about. Okay. I thought it said Darth something. I thought you had like a Star Wars thing up there, and I
No,
was like,
Darth Dawkins is
I was like-
terrified of me.
I was like, who is
Darth
this
Vader was
Darth
right.
guy?
Yeah, that's my opinion.
Well, that's super cool. Yeah, the guy who was talking about the Big Bang. Yeah, he was. What is? I think it's.
Oh, he coffee cupped on us.
Sorry, no, I was looking at what it was called again. It was CMB, the Cosmic Microwave
Background. Yeah.
background. Yeah, I was like, well, I know that exists, so I don't know what he's talking about. There's no evidence for it, but whatever. Anyways, yeah, well, I'll hop off. Thank you for talking with me. I'll definitely look up some of these books that you're talking about.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for coming up. I thought, yeah, I didn't realize that guy and I that we didn't agree on things. I thought, I don't know. Anyways, I had somebody created a video that I have to watch real quick. Fucking A, you gotta be kidding me. No. Oh, there's no way. Son of a bitch. Oh, man. Somebody used AI to create a video of Darth Dawkins and I kissing. I'm so pissed. Hello, Ryan Hot Dog. What's up?
Yo, what's going on, dude? I've never been on TikTok Live. This is hilarious.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I wanted to come on here and just troll you and just be like, yo, the earth is flat, prove me wrong, but like I think you get enough of that.
No, the
I
real ones,
genuinely-
there's enough of that, and it's entertaining enough on its own.
No, it really is. I honestly was that last guy was a curveball too. All power to him. You know, he's thinking critically. I support that. I didn't see that that curveball, but yeah, to each their own. That's hilarious. You have a good sense of humor. I like how you how you try to talk people into certain positions. I forget what the our friend before our last one said. Something to the effect of you can't use logic and reasoning to get someone out of a position that they didn't use it to get into in the first place. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's really hard to argue with a very objectively dumb person.
Emotional beliefs are largely immune to rational rebuttals.
Yeah, and then there's the whole Dunning-Kruger effect. I mean, I'm no fucking Einstein. Oh, I shouldn't swear. I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
I
no
don't care.
Einstein. I didn't know if that would get
what
you.
I mean is I don't give a shit.
Okay, I wasn't sure if TikTok is gonna ban you or something. Yeah, I don't know. My brother might be the stupidest person I know, and I see that stuff all the time with him, and I'm related to him, so thank God. That means I'm like a little bit stupid myself. But yeah, no, it's so hard to talk someone. I mean, Bless you, sir. Bless you, sir, for going on the front lines and talking to these people, because I would not have the patience or the time of day or the discipline to hold myself from just like exploding, which is what they want. But at any rate,
Anyways, Ryan, I got 5 people in the queue, and I got to try to get to as many oppositions as I can. But thanks for coming up.
you're good, brother. Thank you so much. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Okay. It shuffles the order, so I don't know who's been waiting the longest anymore. But I think Talon's been there for quite a while.
Hello.
Hi, what's up?
I just want to say it's an honor to actually talk to you. I've watched a lot of your videos.
Right on.
I just wanted to hear your opinion on do you know the comedian Ricky Gervais?
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually was in an interview. He said every Christian is atheist, and he said something along the lines of there's 3,000 gods, even though there's more in religions, and then he just believes in one less God than Christians do. And I want to hear your opinion on that.
I think it's fine. I don't know what it is that Christians or apologists use as a rebuttal to that. I don't think it's a very strong argument, but it's not illogical. I think the main point of it is I think the main point of it, like the way to use it would be like to tell them like, look, you know what it's like to be an atheist. So don't go around saying, how can somebody not believe? You don't believe
Right.
in these countless, and the reasons for why you don't believe in all the others, we have the exact same reasons for yours, because yours isn't unique to, like, the Christian God is unique to other gods in some senses. But if you combine them all together, essentially,
It's homogenous.
I disbelieve all these other gods because there's nothing necessary about them or whatever.
And the very first recorded god was Ishtar.
Yeah, maybe I
As far
don't
as I
know,
know.
but
Well, yeah, I love doing research. But yeah, what's your theory on quantum foam? Well, your opinion, I mean.
I don't really have one. I remember learning
okay.
about that when I was really young. I had a Guinness Book of World Records book. I think it was the 2003 edition. Whichever one had the really colorful spiral numbers on it.
Yeah, every year when me and my sister were going to school, we'd always get one as a present.
Yeah, those were really cool. I think I only had like 2 or 3 of them as a kid.
I got about 3. We had a rough patch growing up.
But that's where I learned about them, about it. And it said something like a cubic centimeter of it would have enough energy to boil the oceans. But it's just theoretical, so we don't know if it really.
Yeah, it's all hypothetical right now. But I mean, I hope we get into it further. I just wanted to say I really appreciate your content. Thank you for spreading wisdom and turning these apologists on their heads.
You're welcome. Okay, they left. Not true. The first recorded god was Spanky. Oh, that's funny. Okay. Sofa King's been waiting a while. I feel like I've talked to Sofa King. I'm pretty sure. Hello?
Hey.
What's up?
Hey, yeah, you have talked to me before. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be the opposition you're looking for, but I do have a question about evolution.
They're not the opposition you are looking for.
Yeah, the opposition. Yeah. I've noticed, I've been watching you a while, and I've been watching you just to see if maybe one day you will get an opponent who will have some kind of argument that will make me be like, hey, you know what? I've never looked at it that way. Maybe need to reassess this whole God position or whatnot. And it's kind of like watching Bigfoot videos. If you've seen one, you've seen them all. So I mainly just watch you now to get what's going on psychologically with the people that have these positions, because it's amazing to hear some of these guys, even today, some of these guys come on and their standard for evidence of something like the Big Bang or evolution is so high But if you were to press them on their religious beliefs, it would be, oh well, because it's
Because
in
the
the
book says
Bible,
so.
or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
and
I just ask them, if somebody wrote it down, that's sufficient evidence for a miraculous claim, which is the like most unusual type of claim. I mean, it's such a joke. And then you can ask, okay, well, we have written affidavits of people who swear they saw the angel Moroni. That doesn't count, but it meets your criteria. And it's ridiculous.
yeah, it's baffling, and it's interesting to watch unfold live in a conversation, because it's fascinating to see what kind of brain brokenness is going on in their heads, that this does not compute with them, the idea that they're asking for evidence that they do not ask for something that they currently believe in. Um, and then one of the previous uh, guests came on and we're talking about uh, they're like, oh well, language is learned, so it doesn't count. I remember watching this interesting experiment video about an experiment that they did with pigeons. They put a bunch. It was an experiment about superstition, and whether superstition is just something that humans have or if it can show up in the animal kingdom. And they did this experiment with pigeons. They put a bunch of pigeons in cages. They fitted the cages with feeders that would randomly drop some bird feed, just randomly. And some pigeons would like twirl around once, and just at that moment, just so happened the randomized bird feeder went ahead and dispensed food. And by the end of the experiment, they had a bunch of pigeons twirling,
Whirling. That's
thinking
fascinating.
thinking that that's what caused the food to come, which shows that
I wouldn't call that. I've read some research on what kind of conditioning is this? It's not operant. I don't know if it's classical either. But I've read some. I don't remember, but I've read some research on this, and what you find is if you want to change behavior, the best way to do that is to use random intermittent awards. This is actually really fascinating because this has been studied with pigeons specifically. So what they did was they had pigeons, like, I think they pecked something, and they had it programmed differently. They would make it so it would dispense a food item basically every time they pecked it, or they would do a predictable interval, like every fifth time they pecked it, it would release food, or it would completely randomly release food. And what they found was the way to get the pigeon to do the most pecking is for the reward to be unpredictable and sort of intermittent. And what they think the reason for that is because when you can't predict it, that creates the greatest dopamine spike for the reward. So what I would guess is really happening here is that twirling is really it's like you can train a dog to twirl for a treat, right? But if you want to make it effective, you don't want to reward them every single time. So I would be kind of skeptical. I think the best explanation for that would probably be it just has something to do with the dopamine spike for the reward. Because you said that it is randomly dropping food for them. So that is really cool. And that is what superstition would look like. But I think that that's probably more just a very odd learned behavior. And the problem is, even if I'm wrong, we can't know what pigeons are thinking, unfortunately.
Well, in the experiment, they referenced how people who go gambling in Las Vegas will have strange rituals that they do. They bring a gem and they rub it before they pull the slot, the handle, or a guy wears a lucky shirt or this or that, and they were equating it to, I guess it was maybe more about ritual than it was about superstition. I'd have to watch it again. It's been maybe a decade since I watched it, but I remember it sticking with me enough to remember it, to bring it up. The question I had about evolution, I think you may have touched on this before, was I'm curious on whether you think, or whether if it's known, if it is a constant process. Like, for example, because if there's a difference between adaptation and evolution, and if not, say the environment was static and predators and any kind of thing that we would have to become, different for in order for survival was not a factor, would the process continue, or would there be periods of just like, this is the best organism you can be for the given environment?
So if the environment doesn't change, then there isn't selective pressure for a population to move toward what's called directional selection, right? So directional selection is where extreme versions of a phenotype have a statistical better chance for survival or reproduction. And so that pushes the phenotype to move in that direction. Sorry, I have an itchy nose. But again, if environments aren't changing, then then you get stabilizing selection, where the average individual is the most fit. Anything more or less than that is either a waste of resources or inadequate, right? Now, this idea of, is it just gradual evolution all the way? There's this idea of punctuated equilibrium, which is sort of the idea that evolution, instead of being like, if you track the way an organism changes, instead of a gradual slope where, like the giraffe's neck, for example, just gets a fraction of an inch longer every 100 generations and just goes up like that. Instead, punctuated equilibrium is a stair step. So populations remain stable for pretty long periods of time, and the changes in the population actually happen pretty dramatically, and it's probably triggered by some sort of environmental pressure that comes about suddenly. And so there's high selective pressure for kind of a relatively dramatic directional selection to happen. And then once the population changes sufficiently or whatever, then it remains stable again until the next thing comes up. But punctuated equilibrium is still gradualism. It just kind of imagines that instead of the process just like literally being a constant change, it's, I don't know how else to say it other than it's more of a stair step.
Yeah, that really seems to be what, like, the explanation I was leaning toward. I had meant to, long ago when that first Reason rally happened in DC, I remember going there and talking to atheists, asking them questions about evolution. This is the last thing I have to say. I think there is a thick book that is yet to be written about the similarities between religious thought and conspiratorial thought. The previous guest talked about how his brother is the dumbest person he knows, and he was talking about it in a religious context. I am in a similar situation, but this guy that is related to me is like that on a conspiratorial.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's. I used to be, back late 90s, early 2000s, I was deep into conspiracies. It was more entertainment. And it's really sad to see. Even when I went to the Reason rally, there's atheists there who had the convictions of their conspiracies the way that religious people have. They would laugh at a Christian because, oh, you believe in, the Shroud of Turin, or you believe, this or that, and then go off and spout about FEMA camps and Building 7 and
Right.
vaccines and just all this stuff. And I remember being in that camp and then thinking, I'm like, gee, I really am not applying the same standard of belief to my conspiracy that I do when I'm critical to religious people. So I've definitely broken away from that, a lot more skeptical when it comes to just, picking up news from whoever's shouting into a microphone on the internet,
Yeah.
claiming they have evidence and whatnot. But yeah,
I would. Well, I gotta try to get to some other people here, but what I would say about that is, I don't think religiosity predicts conspiratorial thinking. I think there's something different that predicts that a person would fall into both of those camps, because people are religious for very different reasons. There are lots of different types of religious people, So I think for some people, and I think the most obvious thing for the conspiratorial thinking is, for a lot of religious people, it's about, religion is telling me that there are the bad people out there and it's us against them. And the conspiratorial thinking, a huge amount of it goes exactly like that. And so I think that's the underlying thing that unifies them together. I don't think one is predictive of the other. I think they just correlate because of some other underlying thing.
Yeah, that's what I meant, the correlation. It's the
Right.
reason is different, the process is somewhat similar.
Yeah.
All right, Eric, thanks for letting me on. I will continue to watch and hope you find that counterpoint that you've been searching for all day.
Yeah, me too. All right. Thanks.
Later.
Okay. Goomer, assuming they're still there, is next. Hello?
Hello.
What is up?
I just have. So one question I have is: you say that you believe in evolution.
Yes.
So do I.
Okay.
How does that contradict the Bible in any way?
Well, the Bible says that life was created on the planet, and like all the plant life was created on one day, and then all the animal life was created on another day. That just is not what happened.
Yeah, that's the point of Genesis 1:1. It's not to give a science lecture; it's to send a message.
Is the
It was
message
talking about-
true?
Well, the Bible uses a lot of metaphor and hyperbole. Like when it says, if you look at somebody with lust to gouge your eyes out, it doesn't mean literally take your own eyes out.
I think it does, actually. Because it's about, because is gouging your eyes out worse than going to hell?
What do you mean?
Is gouging your eyes out worse than going to hell?
No.
Right. So if you couldn't help but be lustful, but that's a sin and it's going to send you to hell, then you'd be better off having gouged out eyes, because there's nothing worse than going to hell.
Yes, but it's using a metaphor, which it's not meaning literally do this. It's delivering message.
Possibly, but the logic is still true that it actually would literally be better to gouge out your own eyes. I mean, I don't remember if it was Jesus or Paul, but one of them says, look, you're better off being a eunuch if you can't avoid, or not a eunuch, but you're better off just being completely celibate if you can't help but, be lustful, because the world's going to end soon anyways. So there you go.
But if you look at somebody with lust, the point is to turn away from that.
Well, yeah, but he literally says if you can't help yourself, then you're better off gouging out your own eyes. And if it's to avoid going to hell, which is the worst possible thing, then yeah, you ought to. And like you can debate if that's like actually what Jesus meant. I think modern Christianity has very, very little to do with what Jesus ever said or meant. It has almost everything to do with what Paul said. So, but we're not talking about evolution anymore, right? So,
Oh.
like with regard to the creation account or whatever, like if I'm fine with it if you're willing to say that Genesis 1 is just not true, then like it's like, do you think that life on the planet is billions of years old?
Yes.
Okay. So I mean, if that's your take on it, then you would say that Genesis 1 isn't literally true. And so I'm like, okay, fine. But it's kind of weird how you have to retreat, and you have to retreat so far into that. So it's like, okay, well, did Adam and Eve ever exist then? Because if they didn't, I mean, evolution would tell us that they didn't exist, and that would mean that there was no original sin, and that would mean that there was no reason for Jesus to have ever even existed. So that becomes kind of a big problem.
I guess. But I mean, I wouldn't say that necessarily in the beginning there was literally just two humans. I think that the point of it is to say in the beginning, no sin, man sinned, sin entered the world.
Okay, so then like in your opinion, then who were like you think Adam and Eve did exist?
They might. I mean, if you really think about it, it has to. If you go back far enough in your family tree, it has to go to two people, does it not?
No. It goes to a I don't know. I mean, it goes back to two people. Well, that means the problem with that is if you look at your family tree, you mean if we look at everybody's family tree, it eventually goes back to two people?
It eventually has. They have to come from some. They have to come from something.
Well, yeah, but if you look at your family tree, it goes back to two people. Yeah, your parents. That's obviously not far enough. But if we look at everybody, does it go back to two people? No, it doesn't go back to two. It doesn't go back to two people who copulated. It does go back to a woman and a man, but they lived at different times and in different places on the earth.
Mm-hmm. But the point is, like, let's say you go back, your parents. All right, where did they come from? Your grandparents. Where did they come from? Your great grandparents. Eventually, if you keep going down that, okay, but where did these people come from? You don't think that eventually it will just narrow down to just a very small selection of people?
No, it can eventually get you to two people, but they would be two people among a population of people. Like the whole mitochondrial Eve and Y chromosome Adam, they weren't the first two humans. They're just the farthest back. Well, not even far, like the farthest back, but at the same time, most recent human that everybody is a direct descendant of by virtue of their children's 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 children, so on and so forth.
Yeah. I guess, yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I don't know if there's like we have different interpretations, like we have different takes or whatever, but I'm not sure if there's too much we disagree with. Like you believe in evolution, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't necessarily believe in human evolution, or do you?
I do.
Okay. Well, I mean, then like I don't do atheist evangelism. So like if you think that way, then cool. Good enough for me.
I mean, I don't know if it could have started with specifically two people, because if you keep reading the Bible, eventually when I think it was Cain, when he wanders off, he finds his wife, but they weren't related to Adam and Eve at all. He found his wife in the land of Nod, and all of his siblings were specifically mentioned in name, but his wife was never. So there might have been other people outside of where they lived.
Yeah, that's what some people say. Other people say that they were Nephilim, not really human. And whatever. Like it's cool that you believe this, but it's at the same time, what's really unfortunate is the overwhelmingly most influential Christian voices are completely against evolution of any kind, of the earth being well, actually they do believe in a weird kind of evolution. But they're against evolution, especially human evolution. They are against the earth or the universe being billions of years old. This is creation.com, Answers in Genesis. They are by far the most influential. And so, your argument isn't even with me. It's with them and their interpretation of everything. But I was going to say something. I forgot what it was. Do you believe the flood happened?
I do, because I mean, if you look all over like the world, like if you go into if you look at the Sahara Desert, they do find whale skeletons there, and they find like erosion on the land in areas that really were never underwater. And I mean, what does it say about the fact that like every culture in history, they all have a story about a gigantic flood that like overcame everything.
I don't think every culture has those stories, but what the hell is that? Anyways, well, okay, do you believe that every single human except Noah's family died during the flood?
Hold on, fuck. I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I couldn't hear you.
Do you think every human on the planet died except for Noah's family during the flood? And then same for the animal life?
I mean, maybe, because I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't there. I can't know for sure.
Oh, that's just so impossible is the problem. I mean, genetically, there isn't enough genetic material in one person's family to have allowed human beings to continue existing. We would have died of recessive alleles so long ago, recently into that. So this is a weird one where you're saying the creation account isn't literal and you believe in evolution, but then to adopt the flood narrative, you have to you have to go to the same lengths that the people that doubt everything are saying. That's crazy. That's so loud. Are you? I can't hear you because you're. I don't know if you got a phone call or what the deal is. But if you're not here, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry, what?
What was the last thing you heard me say?
You were talking about the taking Genesis literal, but then like the flood, not taking it.
Right. So if you don't, is that echo? Can you do anything about that?
What?
I'm hearing my voice played back.
Oh, I don't know why I don't. Echo
Testing
came out of
1, 2,
nowhere.
3. Okay, it's gone now. So it's just odd. Like you discount the creation narrative as being literal, in favor of the scientific secular account of how life on this planet arose and how the planet itself came to be what it is. But then you do take literal this flood story, which is just so it's just really ridiculous, and it scientifically falls apart for so many reasons. But also, like, if you can believe the flood, why not believe in Genesis 1?
I mean, I believe the flood, but like I've done research on it because like it'll keep me up at night, and it's weird how like the whole world would have gotten flooded, and I've been to like a Catholic school where they talk about how like the flood. We know that Noah, he lived in the Middle East, and the world to him was only the Middle East. He had no knowledge of Africa,
Right.
North America.
Yeah,
South America.
they say it was a local flood. Yeah.
So it could have been in that region where the flood happened.
Yeah, I mean, they say that. I think the only reason they say that is because they are modern humans, and it's just completely, they just know that it's just too stupid to try to pass on the idea of a complete worldwide flood to modern humans. We're too, but it's not more believable than Genesis 1. It's not more believable than Genesis 1. It's not, even if you take Genesis 1 as a metaphor, it's not more or less believable than God magically creating the entire universe in the first place.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. But
And then you have to ask questions like, how the hell did kangaroos get onto the ark? And then how the hell did they get back to Australia after the flood happened?
I guess you could say, like, especially in the Bible, it said that he led all of the animals to him. Then when the flood was over, he might have led the animals back to where they came from. Or, like, if it was a regional flood, it was only the animals that lived in that region, not like penguins.
If it was
from
regional, that's the only thing you're going to get away with. But I mean, because the other one, how did Noah have time to visit all the continents and lead the animals to his boat, especially when you can't walk to Australia or North or South America or Antarctica from where he lived?
I mean, if it was a worldwide flood, the Bible does say that the animals came to him. God led the animals to him, not he went all around the world and swept them up in his boat.
But still, I mean, how does a bison get from the plains of North America to wherever Noah was building the boat? I mean, there's nothing doing for that.
Yes, yeah. It's very weird.
It's quite weird, yeah.
I guess so. A lot of people they could say.
Holy shit!
They
So,
could
like-
say like divine intervention, maybe.
I mean, but that's just to preserve a literalist interpretation, which I think is just silly. Like, look, nobody believes that the Big Bad Wolf story, or not the Big Bad Wolf, the Little Red Riding Hood story is literally real. Nobody thinks that an actual talking wolf actually ate a grandmother and then put on her clothes and hid in her bed. It did anything like that. Nobody thinks that really happened, right? But there's a point to that story. I'm not sure what it is. Don't trust strangers if they are hairy. I'm not sure what the moral of the story actually is or whatever. And I just don't understand why people just can't be reasonable and see how this story is just too stupid to be true and not take the interpretation that it's meant to tell a story. I think the story is just absolutely disgusting and horrible. I mean, killing every unborn baby for crimes or sins that they haven't committed. I don't know where the moral of that could possibly lie. Even if the story's fictional, it's a horrible story. But yeah.
I mean, every time I hear like that, like in the flood, the unborn babies, the babies that got swept away. I mean, it does say like God gave the people that Noah was with a couple hundred years to repent, and then it would have never happened. I mean, it's sad that
You're still punishing people for crimes they didn't commit. There's no excuse for that.
Yeah. I mean, the way that I've always looked at it is like, it. I believe that Jesus existed. I believe in the New Testament. So I feel that like if the New Testament is true, anything in the Old Testament can be true.
I mean, yeah, but you don't think that about Genesis 1, and I think it's because you're blessed to live in the time in which we do, where we can know so much, but you're just too clever to think that that's true. But then you don't apply it equally. Well, we'll say consistently, I guess. Same difference, but
Yes, yeah.
because like some extremely intelligent people like Galileo, Galileo famously wrote that he absolutely believed everything in the Bible verbatim, literally, and it's because even the smartest people at that time didn't have the tools, the technology, the cumulative knowledge to be able to say naturalistically, here are the only things that actually make any remote sense, right? And he went against the common biblical narrative because people reasoned through the Bible that the earth is motionless because of what it says in, I don't remember if it's Joshua or Jacob or Samuel, which book it is, but there's this story that God stopped the sun moving for a day in the sky. And it's like, well, yeah, according to the Bible, it's the sun that's moving and nothing else. And so Galileo said, well, look, God's word is still infallible. If we find out through science that something in the Bible is false, all that really means is our interpretation of what it says is false. And I think that's dogmatic and kind of a dangerous way of thinking, but it's better than the alternative, I guess I would say.
Yeah.
Which is to say, if science demonstrates that something the Bible says is false, that means that the science is false, which is what the most influential and popular Christian thinkers, that is how they think, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard a lot of people that I like to talk to about with this type of stuff is like, there's some stuff that it could be like a translation issue, because if you read it in English, I mean, it's compared to other languages, it's a very like one-dimensional language. It's very simplified, whereas these other languages, they're very, very contextual. It relies heavily on the context to understand what's happening.
I mean, I don't have anything to say in response to that. Is ancient Hebrew more contextual than other languages? I don't know. I mean, that sounds like the kind of thing that people just say because they're doing apologetics. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, we're going to have to leave it there, I think.
All right.
Later.
Bye.
That dude is going to join the dark side in a few years. I know it. All right. Anyways, this guy's clueless.
What's up?
God. Hi.
So, I mainly want to talk about your opinions on like theism, mainly Christianity, and how those things contradict each other. So why do you
What
why do you
what
think
contradicts what?
why you can't have religion and science?
Oh, I never said that.
Well, you say that creationism is dumb and
Hmm.
because of science.
Hmm.
So I think that kind of like, says that you can't really have this and still have religion. You know what I mean? So why do you think that um Christianity is dumb?
Uh, well, because I don't believe in magic, but I want to. I'll let you control the narrative here after this, but I want to try to make a point. Do you think that Islam is true?
No.
Okay, but Islam is a religion. So, and
Mhm.
you're a member of a religion. So, if I said, according to religion, religion is false, that doesn't really work. So, I think that that's silly, and it's not really an honest take on what's going on here. So, if I say creationism is stupid, that's not the same thing as me saying, therefore, Christianity is false. That claim is for it, according to the best way we can possibly know about how to figure out facts about the world we live in. The idea that the universe is 6,000 years old is too stupid to believe in. But that's not me saying that according to science, religion is false or that they can't coexist in any kind of way, right? So, anyways, you were kind of asking me about creationism. So, yes, I think creationism is as stupid as thinking the earth is flat. Young earth creationism.
But isn't that the entire gist of religion though? That we
No.
have a creator?
Right. Young earth creationism is as stupid as thinking the earth is flat.
Young earth creationism? Can you give me a definition? Like, what does that mean?
It means like if you add up the genealogies in the Bible all the way up to Adam's creation, which happens on only the 5th, 6th day, whatever, then the entire universe is 6,000 years old.
If you count it?
Yeah, if you add up all the genealogies.
The genealogies?
Yes.
What does that mean?
In Matthew it says so and so begat so and so who begat so and so who begat so and so who begat so and so, and then in Genesis it does that too. What's his name? Usher. I always forget his first name. Not the R&B artist, but a priest a long time ago. He added up all those genealogies, starting with there was a historical event in the Bible, the death of Nebuchadnezzar. I think maybe it is. And he goes backwards from there, and because it says how long, this would really only be for the Old Testament. Matthew isn't really part of this, because it says how long all these people lived. And Adam lived to be 900, and his children were these people, and they lived to be this, or whatever. And it goes back to about 6,000 years ago.
All right, but that's assuming that we have everything to know about that just from the scriptures. Like, obviously, maybe not obviously, but you will not get all the information on it just from the Old Testament scriptures. Like, you can't, it wouldn't have every single important person, I wouldn't think, because of obviously the earth.
But it goes back to Adam, who according to Christianity was the first man, and he is created specifically in the first week of creation, which according to their interpretation is the creation of the entire universe. So it goes back to the beginning.
Yeah, go back to the beginning, but you don't know that there isn't things in between.
It doesn't matter what's in between. If we know where it begins and how long ago it began, then that's how we get our date there. This isn't controversial. According to the Hebrew calendar, that's what year we're in, the year like 6,000 whatever. I don't know precisely what it is, because they do the same thing. They account for, they say that the creation is the starting period, and so it's been that many years since then. Now Judaism doesn't. I don't know what percentage of people within Judaism are young earth creationists. There's a huge amount of secular beliefs are very popular amongst Jewish people, but nonetheless, regardless, they have they've got the dates added up too. So this is not controversial or debated, really.
All right. So how does that contradict science?
We can see billions of light years, for
You
one.
can see billions of light years.
Right. So let me ask you a question. If the entire universe is only 7,000 years old, what is the range of distances we should be able to see out into the universe?
To see?
Yeah.
7,000 light years, I guess.
Right. But we can see billions of light years.
How do you know you can see billions?
So astronomers have lots of tricks and tools that they use to gauge distances. Standard candles are one of the best ones. I mean, I could give you a rudimentary example of what a standard candle is. I'm not an astronomer or anything. I've done my best to explain it with my limited background. But do you just doubt that astronomers know what they're doing?
You say that like we absolutely know it's fact. Like how? No, I don't. I doubt the astronomers saying that we can see 7 billion years. Yeah, I do.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, because it disagrees with the Bible.
Yeah,
So
but that's not the only.
So
So
if we
that's like
discover
saying-
something, you believe in the scientific method for countless things, but when the scientific method discovers something that contradicts the Bible, you say that the science is wrong. So
I'm just saying
that seems very odd.
And it seems hypocritical to put all your faith into this science, but then you don't put the same faith into the Christianity.
I see no sufficient reason or evidence to put any faith into the claims of Christianity. So, like, do you think that atoms don't exist?
What do you say?
Do you think that atoms exist?
Sure.
Okay. But you don't believe we can see billions of light years. So, why is one of those things just why can't you believe one of those things, but you can believe the other thing?
Because some are more easy to believe, but I can also turn around to you to put it on the Bible and say, why can you believe this, but you can't believe like something else? Like
I don't believe in magic, which allows me to also disbelieve every other religion and mythology that you also disbelieve in. But I'm more consistent. I don't arbitrarily stop drawing that line in order to preserve a belief that is not predicated on evidence.
But like, what is that? What do you mean?
So you don't believe in any religion except your own, and like you sort of believe in what Jews believe in, is in terms of like the historical narrative of the Old Testament, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you believe that Muhammad split the moon in half, or that the moon split in half when Muhammad ascended into heaven?
Because we don't have the same observations and what's it called? Like people who saw it. We don't have the same amount of people who saw that compared to when people saw Jesus ascend into heaven and rise from the dead.
Okay, well that's geez, where do we go from that? Does the moon splitting in half sound like something that even could happen to you?
To me?
Yeah.
I don't think so, but it's possible.
Okay, I
not
agree.
Probable. But like,
Well, almost anything's possible,
to-
I guess, especially if you allow magic to exist in your worldview. To me, the moon splitting in half is too stupid to believe. And even if 1,000 people said it happened, that's not sufficient enough evidence for me to believe that something that, by all rational naturalistic accounts, just can't happen, right? And I think you feel the same way that I do. um, about all these things, but then you don't feel that way about your personal beliefs, which which make violations of the natural world and what is and what seems like common sense to you, the same way it seems like common sense to me.
All right, let me ask you a question. Do you believe that Jesus rose from the dead?
No, I don't think anybody has ever risen from the dead, because rotting corpses don't reanimate, and I don't believe in magic.
Okay. So even though we have a lot, probably about hundreds of accounts in a time where
No,
you
you do
would.
not.
Okay.
You have Paul
You have a lot.
saying that somebody told him that 500 people saw it. If 500 people saw the tombs of the saints open up and walking around, that would by far be the most miraculous thing that had ever happened. And it would not be told by only one guy one time in one letter.
How do we know it was only told by one person? Just because it's the only thing that's in the Bible does not mean that there's not other accounts of it.
But there aren't.
But how does that matter?
Because
people
because if
did
somebody
see them.
if somebody
Paul's not
was
the only
making up
person.
a story, if an event happened that hundreds of people saw, and those hundreds of people would each tell anybody that they could, then in no time at all, countless thousands of people know this story, and it would be the most miraculous thing that ever happened. Nobody would ever stop talking about it. If it really happened, right? If a guy was making it up, then you would expect to only find this story in one place. That's the same kind of logic I use with the moon splitting in half. Literally everybody on the planet would have seen that happen. Nobody on the planet would have ever stopped telling that story. It would exist everywhere. Now, if it didn't happen and somebody was making it up, then I would only expect to find it in one place or in a tiny number of stories from one small place, because that was the group of people making up the story and telling it.
Okay, you're forgetting that in this time, the time that this happened, people would be killed for expressing their belief in Jesus and saying that he rose from the dead. You would literally be martyred. That's what a martyr is.
Not in the very
Yeah, of
earliest
course,
days, no.
Well, that's what would happen. So of course, people would be too afraid to say that it happened, and that only people told him only. Because if you went open about it,
then why
and
do we
said,
why
"I
do
saw
we have
Jesus die,"
Christianity
you would be
at
killed.
all? But this is an argument for the complete extinction of the Christian religion, because it would have been snuffed out right away.
Because some people, it didn't care about being killed, and they all actually told it. But if you went out and told everybody, "I saw Jesus die and rose from the dead," then you would be killed. So of course they would only tell that one person.
That just doesn't make any sense.
How does it not make sense?
Don't you think that non-Christians would have seen the tombs of the saints open up and 500 people walking around? It doesn't have anything to do with specifically Christianity. Yes, it's only in the Christian canon that story comes to us today, but it's not like, oh, if you say that means you're it's not a uniquely Christian thing. Not really.
It's not about just being Christian. Just if you say you saw that happen, you would be killed. That's what happened.
Why though? Because non-Christians would have seen it happen.
Because it ties into the
it's
miracle
not
of
it's
Jesus.
not blasphemous to say that happened. It's not the same kind of claim as, did you know that Jesus actually is God? It's not the same kind of claim at all.
Because there's a difference between saying, if you say you saw that happen, that obviously means you saw Jesus rise from the dead. You saw that.
No, it just doesn't. Look, people can agree or disagree on as to whether or not Christ resurrected because he only appeared to the women and the 12 and a few other people that were walking down that road and wherever that was, I can't remember. But these 500 souls that left the tombs, everybody, and there were almost zero Christians at that specific time, that would have been seen by everybody. So that is a claim that anybody could agree on regardless of what you believe.
But
Jew,
they were directly
Gentile,
guided to each other.
Christian, which there weren't any Christians really at that time, whatever. It's not a claim unique. This is just a naked historical claim. You can claim that the resurrection is as well, but that's obviously intrinsic. Like it's very important to the Christian. Like the Christian religion doesn't exist unless that happened. Now the resurrection or the tombs opening up is tied to that, but it doesn't mean like Christianity being true or false doesn't rest on this one thing. And so again, like it's not blasphemous to say the tombs opened up if everybody saw that happening.
Because the tombs opening up was a direct result of Jesus.
Wait, why am I
Direct
saying
result.
500 people walked around? It was seen by 500 people that the tombs were opening up or whatever. I think I'm confusing myself. But yeah. 500 people saw it.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, we've been on that specific thing for a really long time. What do we even we're talking about science and religion not being able to coexist. So like you asked me, why do I say that science and religion can't coexist? And I said I don't really say that, but it sounds like you do think that because you've said that all of cosmology is just wrong because of the Bible. So it seems like you're actually the one that thinks that.
I'm not saying there's certain accounts of science that can, but when we have these two things that directly contradict each other, yeah, I'm going to choose the faith over the science.
Why?
Well, why do you think because that's my beliefs, but you believe in science, I believe in Christianity, so I could turn around and say, why do you believe in cosmology instead of Christianity?
I used to be a Christian and I never doubted cosmology. It was never a problem for me. It's not a problem for the Catholic Church. It's not a problem for huge numbers of Christians.
Yeah, I'm not saying all science. I'm saying there's certain accounts of it.
Well, I was talking about Christians, not the science, not exactly.
I'm saying there's certain accounts of science that contradict the Bible. Yeah.
So, what do you think is the best way to try to figure out a true fact about the natural world?
The best way?
Yeah.
What true fact? It depends. What do you mean? There's the best.
It doesn't matter. There's any question that you want to ask. What do you think is the best way to try to figure out the closest approximate answer for what the truth is with respect to it?
What do you mean the best way? That's vague.
I know, that's kind of the point. We have a question that we want to answer, like how old is the Earth? How old is the universe? How far away are the stars that we can see? What do you think would be the best way to figure that out?
It depends on the thing.
Just tell me.
It depends on what are you talking about? It depends. It depends on what
Just
it is.
Give me an answer.
It depends on what it is.
Okay, I'm going to say that science is the best way. Do you agree or disagree?
Like I said, it depends on what it is.
Okay, when is it that a specific type of question that we want to answer, when is it that science is not the way to figure out the most accurate answer?
When we already know something from the Bible.
Oh, man. How do you know that what the Bible says is true?
How do you know what science says is true.
Because of its unprecedented ability to produce accurate and reliable results and repeatable results. But you dodged the question completely. How do you know what the Bible says is true?
Because we saw a man die on the cross.
No, you
and rise
didn't.
from the dead. I'm saying people saw that.
How do you know that they saw it?
Because we have historic evidence and accounts.
How do you know that this?
So are you just rejecting history? Like, how do you believe
I
history?
reject that it's history. I think it's mythology, just like you think every single religion on the planet is a mythology except for your own. So why are these stories historical to you?
Because we have literal accounts from people in a time where you would
Such
be
as
slain
who?
if you said that. What?
Such as who?
The what do you mean such as who?
Whose eyewitness
saying-
account do we have?
I don't know. I don't know the specific people.
I can tell you.
Okay, tell me.
Nobody's.
Okay.
Not a single person in any story in the Bible do we have any of their accounts of anything.
Really?
Yes. Do you know what we do have? We have the actual handwritten affidavits of multiple people who claim they saw the angel Moroni. So is that historical and true?
It could be. I'm saying it to
I'm
reject it
asking you if
completely.
you think that it is.
No.
Why not? Because you said if we have eyewitness accounts, then it's history and therefore it's a true account. So why don't
I'm
you
just
believe
saying
the
that to make a
affidavits of the
point
people
where-
that saw the angel Moroni?
What?
Why don't you believe the affidavits of the people that saw the angel Moroni?
Because, like I said, it contradicts what I believe. Like I said, we saw
Is it possible that you are wrong about anything that you believe about the Bible?
Is it possible? I don't think so.
Man, this is fascinating. Okay.
Because
So
like I said, you can reject it. We have the accounts of people who saw that happen.
such as
I don't know this. I just told you. I just told you. I
there
don't know.
literally isn't a single
But-
we don't have a single written account from anybody in any of the stories of the Bible at all.
So the people
Not
who
a
got
single
martyred, that was-
archaeological artifact that is tied to a single person that ever lived in the Bible exists.
So you're saying that the people who literally got martyred for talking about how Jesus rose, though that just didn't happen, or like what? They just did that
That's
for their lives? Like, what
that's
is that?
not in the Bible except for maybe one of the apostles. How many of the apostles their death is actually in the Bible? I think it's only one of them. The rest are just traditional stories. And then if you're talking about like somebody like Justin Martyr, that was centuries after Jesus died. That's not in the Bible.
No, I'm talking about the Jesus' disciples, the people who said they saw him after he died.
James, the son of Zebedee, is in the book of Acts. And that's it.
That's it.
The only apostle whose death is recorded in the Bible is James. That's it.
Just 'cause the Bible is truth, but it doesn't have every truth. It doesn't have everything that happened. Like I said before,
that's not my claim. So
just because it's not in the Bible doesn't mean that it didn't happen. But
that's not my claim. The Bible can't contain all information. That's not possible for any book. What we're trying to figure out is why do you think that the stories in it are even true? And your standard for evidence is just so incredibly weak. And it's a standard that you reject for all other religions. But you can't come up with any reason. So you just say, well, if it's not what I believe, then it's false, which is just such a bizarre way to exist.
like I said, I believe it because Jesus confirmed it, and then he died and rose from the cross I mean, he died on the cross and then he rose, and then people for 40 days people saw him. And you can deny that, but I'm just saying that's what I believe happened. You can believe what you think happened, but you can't just say, "Oh, that's not true," because science. Because then I can
And
say,
you
"Oh,
can't
that's not
say
true
that
because
science
religion."
isn't true
No,
because
it's
Bible.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it's hypocritical to say that and then just completely reject it because science, and I can say, "Oh, that's true because of the Bible." That's a we're going in circles
Why
here.
is
That's
your
bad
why is
wisdom
your method for deciding what is or isn't true about the natural world superior to science?
because of Jesus. Why is science superior to
Why
religion?
is Jesus superior? Why is your faith or whatever in Jesus superior to the methodological practice of science?
Why was what?
Why is your faith in Jesus a superior epistemology to the methodological practice of science?
Because he lived the perfect life. Because he
These are
did miracles
just
that were he did
claims.
miracles that were.
Even if he lived a perfect life, why would that make your
Okay.
faith in Jesus?
I'm saying he did.
This is
he
so
lived a perfect
hard
life, he
to
did
do.
miracles. He died on the cross and he rose again. He did many miracles that are impossible in the eyes of science, and people
You have
still,
no evidence of
say
that.
he did it. What do you mean? How do you have evidence of history?
How do I have evidence of history?
Yeah, how do you believe history?
There's plenty of history that I don't believe. I'm extremely skeptical of Herodotus, for example. His nickname is the father of lies. Okay, now, and we kind of know that because many of the things that Herodotus says are contradicted by multiple other accounts, or his accounts are just they sound way too fantastical, and there's no supporting evidence for them, which is exactly like stuff that the Gospels say. The exact same kind of logic you or I would use to say, yeah, Herodotus is probably full of shit with respect to this, that, or the other, is what I do when I look at the Gospels, but you don't do it when you look at the Gospels because you begin with the belief that the Gospels are true, and then it doesn't matter what the Gospels say. You will believe the Gospels over anything else. It's just so odd.
What I'm saying is to reject this, but to believe something that is very similar is hypocritical for the same.
What
Like you're saying, the same reasons.
what is a similar thing that I reject, and what is it similar to?
I'm saying you reject the Bible, but then you accept like history books, even though they have the exact same reliance on these testimonies.
Absolutely not. I would not believe a historical account, especially of miracles, just because it's written down. Holy shit. Sorry, there's a big spider right in front of me.
People saw it happen, and people wrote it down.
The book says that people saw it happen.
That's how history happens. People saw it.
How come you don't apply that equally? If your claim is it happened, people wrote it down, why don't you believe the other stories that people wrote down? For example, about the angel Moroni.
Because in this time, like I said, it was way more risky to.
I'm not asking you about what you believe. I'm asking you about. I'm not asking you any question about Christianity at all. I'm asking you if you say that somebody wrote it down, therefore it's historical, and they saw it. Why do you not believe that those people saw the angel Moroni?
Because, like I said, in this time, you.
I'm not asking you about Christianity. I'm asking you about the other claim.
Because there was no merit, there was no risk to saying that. You can just say it.
So what? That's not what you said. You said if an eyewitness sees it and writes it down, then it's history. So why don't you believe the affidavits of these other people?
Why do you not?
Because angels and magic don't exist. There's no evidence that they do, and somebody writing it down isn't good enough evidence.
What would be good enough evidence?
Some sort of empirical evidence. So let's do this a different way. Let's pretend that you grew up your entire life never hearing about the Bible, and today you start reading the Bible. What is it about the Bible that convinces you that it's true?
Just one thing.
No, you can give me 7 things for all I care.
The perfect life of Jesus. The
Okay.
amount of cross references.
How do you come to the conclusion that Jesus led a perfect life?
And you come to the conclusion?
Yeah.
Because, from the Bible it says it, and also from the many other people who saw Jesus' life, they know, people saw him and they said he lived a perfect life, and people knew that.
But that's what the book says. I'm asking you, how do you come to the conclusion that that's true? Also, check this out. I'm perfect and everyone knows. So does that make this true? It's written down.
No, because there's no cross references, and you wrote it yourself right there.
No, literally everyone knows it. It says that everyone knows it. Therefore, everybody knows it because it says it.
I agree with it.
What's that?
The Bible has thousands of cross references that agree with it.
Okay, I have just written down the previous page is true. So now it's been cross-referenced. How many times do I have to write that down in order for you to believe it?
You still wrote it you yourself. There's thousands of cross references from other people. That's what a cross reference is. It's from a different source.
And random people just wrote down the Bible's words.
Not the Bible's words. The Bible wasn't there. The canonical Gospels were not a thing yet.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. Anyways, let's go back to what we were talking about. So, you have never read the Bible until today. You start reading the Bible. What about it gets you to believe that it's true? So far, you've just said Jesus lived a perfect life. No, that's just what it says. I'm asking you, what about the Bible gets you? Because we're trying to see if you're honest here, because you don't believe the other stories, even though it's just written down. Okay, well, your stories are just written down. So what other than the fact that the Bible says so is getting you to believe that these claims are true?
The cross references it has. Thousands of different accounts that before the Bible was even the thing, people saying that Jesus' life and writing it down. Thousands of different people that agree with each other about what happened.
What thousands of different people?
The thousands of different cross references, the accounts.
Such as?
I can't name specific examples, but you can look it up.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Are you talking about supposedly fulfilled Old Testament prophecies?
No, I'm talking about how there's thousands of different accounts.
The Bible doesn't have thousands of authors.
I'm saying of different accounts that agree with the canonical Gospels.
So I'm asking you about the Bible itself. So you're saying that thousands of other people saying things is what convinces you that the Bible is true? Are you aware that there are like 1 billion Muslims? Is that enough Muslims to convince you that the Quran is true?
I'm saying at this time before...
No, the question is, there are 1 billion Muslims. Is that enough Muslims to convince you that the Quran is true?
No, that's not my point.
Yes, it is your point. It's exactly your point. You said thousands was enough for you to believe the Bible. There are billions of Muslims. Is that enough?
I'm not talking about followers. I'm talking about the people who were there and saw it.
Okay, what thousands of people are you talking about?
I don't have the exact people.
I don't need to know any of their names. I just need to know, what are you talking about?
I'm sorry, I have to go. Great conversation.
The amount of damage that's been done to that guy's brain by religion is just extraordinary. It was so hard to try to figure out ways of getting him to tell on himself that I believe it because it says it, and it's true because it says it, and I believe it because it says that it's true, and it's true because it says that it's true. The amount of rigor I had to do to try to expose that there was just incredible, and it didn't go as far as I wanted it to. Oh, fuck, that was just so bad. Everything about that was so terrible. Ugh.
Hey, Mr. Peterson, can you explain this photo real quick?
I hate you. I actually hate you. Change it, you bastard.
You know, it's okay. It's Pride Month. I agree. It's fine. I'm just really happy for you, about you and Mr. Dawkins. I support it, dude. I'm a pro LGBT. I support this 100%.
Oh, the gaslighting. This is like in South Park where everybody starts the rumor that Tweak and Craig are gay. And then they go to the principal like, people are making stuff up about us. And then all he says is, nothing wrong with being gay anyways. And then now it's like, oh, okay. So if I try to argue that, but I'm not, I'm homophobic all of a sudden. It's so,
pretty much.
That is some incredible gaslighting.
I got to go back to work, but I just wanted to troll you for a second.
Well, thanks. Hello,
Hi, Peterson.
David. What's up?
Yeah, I've been a long-time viewer. Started with your TikTok. I'm watching pretty much every video on your main channel. The Clips channel. I don't watch the Education channel. I've read a little bit of
I stopped posting on the Education channel. Don't worry about that.
That's probably better that way. First of all, the last guy yesterday on live, it was a TikTok live. I watched it on YouTube. I don't know if you're reading the chat. That guy was absolutely hideous. It was painful to listen to him. It was really painful to listen to him. Last guy on yesterday's live. Anyway, I've been on the path of deconstruction. I've deconstructed at this point. I haven't believed in God for a very long time, but I view it through a lens of psychotherapy at this point, or really just psychology, evolutionary psychology. I've just zoomed into cells far too much to really believe in any meaning. The fact is though that people do believe in it. People live in a social structure. They have to live that way. And I've gotten to come to believe that people have to believe in religion or some other kind of system. You've talked about you not being in favor of just suddenly like killing off religion. You'd not be in favor.
Right.
Of right.
Yeah. If religion disappeared tomorrow, people would still have the deep desire to form weird beliefs, and they would manifest in something that I'm sure would be what's the correct word for it? Something that would be like I can't think of the right word for it, but it would be something that sort of is taking advantage of them in a kind of way that it would lead to beliefs moving into something that I think would have the chance to be more destructive than religion currently is.
I do believe that religion does mask a lot of the ugliness that comes with nihilism. I've become a little bit more of an absurdist. I saw the video yesterday from Unsolicited Advice about absurdism. That was really the first time that I got exposed to absurdism, packing in that, no, actually, like, life does have inherent value, and you don't need to, you just feel that. You don't need to put it behind any other beliefs. I do believe that the only self-sustaining system is the system that we do have. And it's not perfect. It lives on the edge of imperfection. And we have to exploit niches to continue living. I do believe we're like, in terms of like the top of the food chain, we do have a way of consuming energy that no other animal does. But ideas like long survival or like a long life, that's not really biologically favored in most species, to have the longest life or to be big or to be small. None of these are globally advantageous, but they take advantage of a certain niche in their environment. So I see the ugliness of life without religion, also without science. I believe science does allow us to study people psychologically and see that actually there is these desires are not supposed to be seen as something ugly. Um, but I still have difficulty forming a worldview with the subjectivity of how we all construct our own worldview. It's obvious that when people talk about objective morality, there's people just do have different versions of morality. If you actually ask them, you survey them, there is no objective morality because people have different versions of it. We might all, not even all of us would agree that killing is globally wrong. Behind a certain context, governments might find justifications for when murder is wrong. It would get a different name. It would get a name like it's just the suit and tie you wear that makes a difference. I like to say that Dexter just puts it behind a traumatic story, and the government dresses it in law and culture, in tradition, but they're really the same thing. So emotive ethics makes a lot more sense. Still, I'm having trouble constructing a worldview that seems objective, based on science even, because biology can't tell you what to do. I don't believe in oughts from science. I don't believe in that.
Well, yeah, but it
I
but
believe
it
you
but it
construct
can
your own
it can
oughts.
inform your goals, which is extremely
Absolutely.
useful. Religion can't
Do you
inform
think
its own
do you think
goals,
just
even.
physiologically, if you learn your physiology and biology and try to satisfy those needs, is that a good lens to have an objective view of that? It does allow for things like morality. It does allow for things like non-selflessness, because actually selfishness is not advantageous long term for a system as a whole. Selfishness is not advantageous. So when people make the point about
Right.
psychopaths, they live on the edge, and actually that's why they are only 10%, because that kind of aggression, that is a more primal, a more lizard desire, it hasn't completely gone away. It's still in our genes. We have the capability for aggression. We have the capability for ending someone's life, to remove a threat or to gain an advantage, to gain property, to gain energy, whatever. We have the capability to do that, but that system is actually not sustainable long term. And that's why we don't kill, not because of religion. I don't go around killing as many people as I want because I don't want to kill any people, because I have no real reason to. But if I do have a reason to, it would still be non-advantageous to me. The system that we have is a shared system. It's a system where we share resources, we share knowledge. I don't know how to think about abstract knowledge. I think that kind of deep philosophy, it gets so abstract. Um, I think it gets you into analysis paralysis. Um, it leaves you kind of shattered. Um, but yeah, so I was wondering how you've dealt with. I know that you were religious. I know you're Christian. I know that you pretty much reject any human-centric meaning. I know that. Oh, I know that you don't think about right and wrong the same way that most people do. You think of them as ideas that are shared socially. Some of them we agree on, some of them we don't agree on. If a lot of people agree on them, we label them right, wrong, but they're based on emotions. We have labels for emotions. I believe that emotions is how language evolved with basic sounds, and over time, you talked a lot about how people never were born speaking English. How language evolves and how that's similarly shared in how a species evolve. Anyway, I'm getting off the path. I
Yeah,
was wondering how
what's your
you
question? I got to address this pretty
and
quickly here.
yeah, how do you form a worldview that's you know long term, that seems sustainable, but it's not ugly, that doesn't actually have to remove all human centric meaning, because people do live by that, and to plug yourself out of that system is to isolate yourself, is to completely remove yourself from any kind of group. Um, and so, how do you still stay in a group? How do you still accept these ideas while not accepting them as objectively true, while recognizing that, hey, this idea is just, it's needed for survival, but it's not real. The God idea, it's needed, but it's not real. The love idea is needed, but it's not real. All these ideas. And then what about ideas that are harmful? How do we know when an idea is actually not useful? Because I think the God idea, or at least some of the concepts that come with it, I don't have a problem with the creator of the universe idea, but I do have a problem with objective morality idea. I can do anything because my God said so idea. That's a major problem for me. So,
David, I still have no idea what your question is.
how did you come to form an objective worldview knowing that there isn't such a thing?
Well, I don't think that I have an objective worldview. I think my worldview is informed by preferences and goals, and I think that at large humans have the same kinds of goals because we're all innately selfish to a degree, but we're deeply social. And so we know what kinds of behaviors and actions and etc. lead to human proliferation. And as a social species, human proliferation manifests itself largely as what's good for the group is on average best for the individual. And now it doesn't necessarily work vice versa because, of selfishness, but we just know that selfishness isn't, it just doesn't work for
They
human
can overlap.
groups.
Individual needs can overlap with group needs, kind of how a hive of bees can have a specialization, but as a hive, they all still have a single function. But some of the individual bees will have their own function, and each individual bee will still need to eat and drink and mate. So I believe these needs can overlap. That's not a problem. Anyway, I have one more question, and I'll let you go. When is your next book coming out, and what is it about?
I have no idea. I actually I didn't have any plans necessarily for another book. I thought about maybe doing a book geared more toward younger readers, not kids necessarily, but like middle school, early high school type age. And it would be a book about like how to think scientifically. I just kind of had the concept in my mind, but then I actually got an email from a publishing company the other day, and they're like, "Hey, if you ever want to write any books in the future, maybe we could do a partnership." And I was like,
You said recently you're not getting any. You said recently you're not getting any sponsors on your channel. Sounds like you finally have some publishers reaching out to you. Except,
well, one.
Yeah.
So they asked me if I have any ideas for future books, and so I floated that one out there. So I started workshopping that, going through an outline of how I could write the book, and it would be short. It would be like 40 or 50 pages is all. I bought, David Pakman came out with a book a few years ago called Think Like a Scientist, and it's a kid's book. And so I downloaded it for $7 on Amazon to my, for Kindle. I don't have a Kindle, but you can get it on your desktop or whatever. And I went through it, and it's just so bad. I mean, it's obviously, I guess if it's written for like a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old, then okay. But the book, like, it literally only has a couple hundred words, and it doesn't teach you anything. And so I was like, well, this is just, I don't know, like whatever. It's cute, but it's not good. I wouldn't call it good. It's not educational, like in any way. I wouldn't really say.
This is where I find, like, religion is here. I think it's good in some aspects. I can't accept it as objective truth, but I still have to live by some of the systems that most of the people subscribe to. And, call it religion. And if you, out yourself of the group, you out yourself of the system. So I think that the learning science, all of that, it removed the old worldview that I had, but it never gave me a worldview to live by. Even biology, I mean, nature, even botany. I've watched Professor Dave. I've watched Alex O'Connor for a long time. I've watched you for a long time. I've not found how to get a worldview without those kind of systems, like religion. I think it shouldn't be religion. I think it shouldn't be based on a God, on someone who created the universe and has little minions to do things for him. I think that's a really bad idea, and leads to war, killings. I think, I think we can base a society on shared needs and evolutionary, biologically favorable ideas that are good for the whole group, not just for an individual. But except for that, you don't have to be selfish. You can still live in the world without, and it doesn't say you have to be selfish. You don't have to kill people without religion. Apart from that, the rest of the worldview that I formed is pretty brittle because it's based on my subjective experience, and it can easily be questioned the same way I question anyone who's read the Bible. And I ask, well, how do you know that? How do you know it's true? The same kind of basic questions that where people accept where people accept narrative without ever observing it. Anyway, I'm not gonna stick around too long. Thank you, Pearson.
You're welcome. Alrighty. I don't know if
Peterson, can you explain why you and JD Vance have never been in the same room?
we are in the same room in that picture.
No, that's a Photoshop that I did just to compare the faces. They are identical. Can you explain how you and JD Vance have never been in the same room?
Because I would never associate myself with JD Vance.
That's what JD Vance would say about you. And they've never been in the same room. I'm just saying that with a little bit of eyeliner, a few more cupcakes, you guys are exactly similar.
Dude, hilarious. Okay, hold on. Don't go anywhere. None of you go anywhere.
I've been exposing Peterson left and right on this live.
My wife bought these like 2 days ago.
See, it all adds up.
This is a JD Vance kit right here. You should just draw his picture somewhere on it. Oh, man.
You think I should go into a Darth live and show this photo?
No, show the whole video.
Can I do that on TikTok?
If you take your phone and just record it on your computer screen, then you could show it. You could just say, Darth, Peterson was talking about you in a live stream. Do you want to see it? Because that's what it looks like. And then instead, it's just the whole.
Oh fuck!
How did you make that?
Oh, I just went to literally like Google and I said AI kissing, and I just clicked on like the second one or whatever.
Huh? Yeah, I've never done any AI video generators or anything, but this will be the thing that takes down civilization. The ability to fake events will be more destructive than bombs.
That was not a fake event. I seen that happen on a live. I just recorded on my phone.
Yeah.
Peterson's spreading fake news, Western propaganda.
Not Western propaganda. Oh no. Wait,
man, that one Christian guy just was like, Bible is true, nothing else true, huh?
That guy was so insane. Like what the damage that's been done to his inability to think. The way the way thinking has been replaced with something else, I'm not quite sure what to call it for him, was just so sad.
I think the word that I would use is kind of banned on TikTok.
Yeah, something. Yeah. Well, anyways, what are we? 2.5 hours? Yeah, I'll have to go. I gotta go to the bathroom too. So
He's running away from me.
no,
my
it's just,
journalism.
no. I just have to download a brown load. Is all.
Yeah.
And I have for like the last hour. They do not
running
all say
away
that.
from this journalistic photo that I ripped off the internet. It's running away.
I
Everybody pay attention to that.
actually would run away from that. Yeah, I'm not afraid to admit that.
Well, if you look at the video that I posted in your chat, it looked like you were running towards him. That one, you were going hard at it.
I reached pretty far. Yeah.
You literally pushed that microphone out of the way, like you just threw it on the ground.
It was standing between me and what I want, so I had to.
Yeah, exactly. The desire and the passion is just way too real.
Oh man. Okay. Well, before my image is tainted any further, I think I'll have to go here.
All right. Well, happy Pride Month. I'm glad for you and Darth. Very happy for you.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
All right, I'll see you around.
Goodbye, TikTok. Oh man. That's jeez. All right. Hello, YouTube. All right. Let's anything going on over here? The desire for more cupcakes. Yes. That is what I desire. The Earth guy. Yeah, if I were streaming on StreamYard, I could send him a link to join up, but I'm streaming this with OBS. I can't stream my TikTok debates with StreamYard. That wouldn't work. There is a way that it could work, but not for. No, that actually wouldn't work either. Not really. Okay, well I gotta go. I wasn't joking when I said I had to go to the bathroom. So.